Heaves it up, oh no!
Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group!
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, dudes, it's time to go around the league here. Complained enough about the Vikings on Ventline and Hottest Takes. Let's talk about the rest of the National Football League. It's our weekly NFL Takes. We got tiers from Dex. I'd love to start you guys off with this one here. I may have been wrong about Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears. Was that going to be your take, that Phil was wrong about Ben Johnson?
No, I was going to apologize. I was going to say my mea culpas begin today, and the Bears are my first one. So no.
Well, you do need to apologize to the. I thought you were like much more on the Ben Johnson wagon than.
I was initially, but I also like everyone. I felt like it's not true. It felt like everyone was like, the Bears are going to be good, and I'm like, let's slow our roll on that. Like, we don't know. And then they lost their first two games. They got blown out by the Lions in week 2. Yeah. And I sort of took a small victory lap. And so you were more anti Ben Johnson than I was, but I was very culpable of cautioning that the Bears weren't going to be that good.
You know what? So here's my thought on this, because it's funny. The Bears are the number 1 seed in the NFC as we wake up this morning in December. They own a tiebreaker over the Rams, who are also same record, 9-3.
Correct.
Rams had a tough loss against it's a great win by the Panthers yesterday. But I don't believe the Bears with a +6 point differential and a handful of wins by the skin of their teeth in the last 2 minutes. I don't think the Bears are that team. I don't think they're like number 1 team in the NFC, destined to steamroll to the playoffs. It feels like a team that's a good, solid, competitive team that's record is inflated because of just some close game luck, some turnover differential stuff, whatever. I'm not trying to discredit. Where I feel like Ben Johnson has done an incredible job, he's not putting it all on Caleb Williams. And if you're a Vikings fan or a Vikings staffer, maybe you could take some notes from this. The Chicago Bears commit to pounding the football on the ground. In the last 7 games, they've gone over 200 yards rushing 3 times. And so they go into Philadelphia and they say, we're definitely going to throw the ball because, like, that's what we do. But we are going to run it through their soul. And on the season, the Bears offense is top 5 in rushing by almost every measurement. Yards per game, yards per rush, rushing touchdowns. They're high up in attempts as well. So they went in saying, we are the base and the heartbeat of our offense. And it's not like they're winning by 20 points in every game. They're losing in a lot of these games in the fourth quarter, but they commit to the run. You might argue, well, maybe if they'd throw the ball more, they'd have bigger leads. And I just feel like this is a great way with a young quarterback. You're also trying to marry some of your like route schemes, your route tree and your pass game concepts off of those runs. And when you watch the Bears, it's like a diet version of what the Lions have done the last few years, which is you never know. They're going to pound. They've got an electric passing game that marries well schematically, and they are scheming receivers open. And Ben Johnson prides himself on, we're not looking for 50-50 balls, contested catches. I'm looking to scheme receivers wide open off of the deception that our running game creates. So I thought, man, this dude's coming in and we're getting enamored by Dan Campbell built the culture in Detroit, and Ben Johnson's a good offensive coordinator, and he runs some fun trick plays, but the trick plays are just like the icing on the cake. His ability to scheme and pound the run consistently. We're going on the road, we're going to Philadelphia, and we're taking our run game with us is really impressive. So shout out to the Bears. Apologies to Ben Johnson for now. I don't think you're that team 9-3, but you are a very, very formidable team with a great game plan. And now you're taking your shirt off in the post-game locker rooms. You've overtaken Kevin O'Connell as the post-game locker room speech to watch every single week.
Are you telling me that the Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson are marrying the pass and the run?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Yes.
Well, you're really, that's allowed? That works?
Yes, you're able to, and then you're able to stick with running the football, even if the early returns aren't there from a yardage standpoint. If you keep pounding and pounding, boom, 30-yard run, 40-yard run if you stick with it, which is what happens with the Bears.
Just give me 15, baby. Just give me 15 here and there.
And I would even throw this on the pile. They've got a couple talented running backs. They don't have a Jahmyr Gibbs or like a Saquon Barkley. They've got like a Jordan Mason and maybe an Aaron Jones.
Didn't Ben Johnson play a role at least in running DeAndre Swift out of Detroit? Because he went to Philadelphia and then Chicago. So I think he's making do with a guy that they didn't deem capable of being in Detroit.
Yeah.
So
it's
very interesting.
That's where I'm at.
Very interesting. Here's mine. Aaron Rodgers, number one, retire, just go away. And number two, if there's any thought, and I know you keep teasing this, if there's any thought about Aaron Rodgers spending another season in the National Football League with his friend Kevin O'Connell, can we please put that to bed? Reading from Brooke Pryor's story, ESPN, off the Steelers' 26-7 loss to the Bills. After completing fewer than 50% of his pass attempts, Aaron Rodgers suggested two simple fixes to getting on the same page with his wide receivers with 5 weeks left in the regular season. Quote, when there's film sessions, everybody shows up. And when I check to a route, you do the right route. We have our meetings every week. We have other opportunities outside of the facility, and I look forward to seeing all the boys there. Aaron, if I didn't despise you, I might say, you know what, this is very interesting. So guys don't care, guys aren't doing, but how many times can your old ass throw people under a bus? I'm sick of it. I will stand by my statement from earlier today. If Aaron Rodgers is the Vikings quarterback here next season, it's 2010, and he will get Kevin O'Connell fired. I'm so tired of his act. Dude, you're old. You're not who you were. You can have a few good games. You can complete a bunch of dink and dunks, but I'm done with you.
I hate to break it to you, but however close you think it got last offseason, whatever the percentage was, it is a higher chance and higher percentage of happening right now than 6 months ago. Rodgers as the Vikings quarterback in 2026.
Okay, well then Kevin O'Connell should be prepared to look for a job somewhere else.
But don't
he will get him fired.
And I don't disagree. I do think it would be more likely to be a 2010 Viking situation than 2009. But right now, if you guys had to guess, you're in Kevin O'Connell's office right now, today. Kevin. You have three choices to play quarterback for you next year. J.J. McCarthy, Max Brosmer, or Aaron Rodgers. If you get Aaron Rodgers, those other guys can stay on the team. They're just like the number 2 and number 3 quarterbacks. Don't you think he chooses Aaron Rodgers?
I think it's most likely.
I would choose.
If those are your options, you choose TV.
I would choose Fox, CBS. Amazon's got money to spend for days.
Fox could use a shakeup, Oh
exactly right. You know what? Kevin O'Connell in the studio. How about that, Declan? He replaces Bradshaw.
Dude, I would pay a subscription to watch Aaron Rodgers high on mushrooms breaking down the NFL over having to watch Terry stumble over the fastest 2
I'm just saying O'Connell just quits.
That'd be great.
Like you give O'Connell the 3 guys that fills it, he's like, okay, you know what? I'm just going home. By the way, home is California where it's warm right now. I'm going to get my ass out. As Tracy Clay said, goodbye, Minnesota. Goodbye.
Could to defend Aaron for a second, Pittsburgh, since Ben Roethlisberger left, Pittsburgh has been just an offensive dead zone with anyone. Yep. So could it's very, very, very likely that Aaron Rodgers is just kind of cooked, whatever. But how do you really know until you get him in? He's gone from offensive friendly LaFleur and Mike McCarthy in his mid to late 30s in Green Bay to going to 2 of the biggest offensive dead zone organizations, the Jets with a defensive head coach and the Steelers with the defensive head coach. How do we really know for sure until he tests out one last ride with an offensive-centric, a veteran-friendly offensive coach?
Okay, but first of all, that coach wants you to drive the ball down the field, and Aaron simply can't now. And the other thing, too, is there is nobody other than Brady, his age, who has done this. Like, don't forget when Favre came here in 2009, he was 39. He turned 40 in 2009, and then his 40 into 41 season was 2010.
Yeah.
So I think outside of Brady, like for all we talk about all the staying power of pro athletes now, there's not a. I think the list of quarterbacks who have done what Aaron is trying to do is one guy, and the last time I checked, that guy doesn't eat like real food. I don't know what he eats.
What does he eat?
Well, but I mean, it's like what he just like gobbles down kale or something. It doesn't sound like a very fulfilling life to me.
I think he has protein. I think he mixes protein. He
Okay,
eats a lot. He definitely like ate clean, but he ate he ate only real food. Like he only shopped.
But
or
that's
had
the
someone
problem.
shop for him. Yeah.
But that's not real food.
He needs
now.
more processed
In
foods.
2025, that's not real food. If you're not going to restaurants and enjoying the restaurant scene, you're not eating real food.
Aaron Rodgers, by the way, here. So let's see here. On deep passes, so balls that travel 20 or more yards in the air, he is, it's bad. He ranks 30th among 42 qualified quarterbacks, 34% completions. But there's worse, man, including Kirk Cousins. Well, J.J. McCarthy is only 23% completions on deep passes.
There's another one, Kirk. Oh,
Kirk
God.
Cousins is 2 for 11 on passes that travel 20 yards or more in the air. 18% completions. Second to the last only to Tyrod Taylor, who's 2 for 17. So
Is anyone in Atlanta going to pay the price, if nothing else, for signing him?
they're firing everyone.
Just alone signing him.
Yeah, they're 100% firing everyone. 100%. Oh, number one in completion percentage. Oh, my God. Number one and number two in completion percentage on deep passes. Darnold, number one. Drake May, number two. Mm-hmm. I think Drake May actually would have, because KOC is such a niche, as we talked about on the Hottest Takes episode. He's a niche play caller, niche offensive mastermind, but Drake May probably would have fit that niche. So. Okay, Dex.
All right, here's a take. I think the Colts are going to miss the playoffs entirely.
I think you're right.
They went from having a stranglehold on the AFC South to staring down the barrel of potentially missing the playoffs. So according to FPI, they still have a 74% chance of making the playoffs, but their remaining games on the schedule, the Jags twice, who are now at the top of the division, so I have to go through the Jags at least 2 more times. They got to play a Texans team whose defense is super badass to close the season. They have to go into Seattle in a couple weeks. They play a San Francisco 49ers team also in December. They have a gauntlet, and since week 9, the Colts offense, which before that was number 1 in the NFL in like almost every metric. They're 18th in points since week 9. They're 16th in EPA. They're 26th in third down percentage. It's weird. It's almost like Daniel Jones was playing completely out of his mind. Now he does have a fracture in his tibia or something, which is insane.
Fibula. Yeah.
Fibula?
The old fibula.
Good God. So, I mean, that doesn't sound fun to try to play through, but I think the Colts may have peaked a little too early here, fellas, and now they've lost back-to-back games. They got a tough schedule the rest of the way. AFC is loaded. I think they're gonna miss the playoffs entirely.
Yeah, I mean, their last non-overtime win was over a month ago. Because they've got they only have one win since October 26th, and it was in overtime against the Falcons. Was that like a London game or something? I feel like that was.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Across the pond.
You could, if you wanted to take this take to another level, could you actually make the argument, if now Daniel Jones is kind of banged up and everything's turned on the Colts, that they are going to finish under 500? Could they lose out at Jacksonville, at Seattle? You could make a case in all 5 of these games that they will lose. I don't think they're that level tailspin, but there's a chance, like if they miss the playoffs after starting 7-1, that could cost someone their job. Really interesting situation brewing there for Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones and company. A lot of people crowning that team in like mid-October. Let's just take a deep breath and see what happens, and here we are.
I know it's NFL takes, but some breaking NFL news as it relates to the purple.
Oh boy.
Adam Thielen just got waived.
There you go. Little birdie told me over the weekend that he may have asked for that last week. And maybe the Vikings are doing him a solid, like, it's a wrap on our season, so go find a new home if somebody wants to throw the ball to him.
Interesting.
Statement
Train
too
wreck.
from Kwesi. Last week, Adam's representation approached the team and asked if he would be willing to release Adam, expressing his desire to play a bigger role in the remaining weeks of what he has indicated to be his final NFL season. Following discussions through the weekend and out of respect for Adam, we have agreed to give him the opportunity to pursue more playing time elsewhere. Adam is one of the all-time great Vikings, and we wish him and his family continued success.
Wow.
Well, that sure didn't work out.
That was now. I do think the idea of the trade, because they wound up, it was like a 4th and a 5th, and then they got a 5th and Thielen, so it wasn't like a net 4th round value or something. Obviously, you'd love that 4th round pick back. They've got like 10 draft picks in this upcoming draft, so on the list of things that are a train wreck for the Vikings right now, that trade is pretty far down the list, but it was a bad trade. It was a bad trade. They got desperate. They got nervous about Jalen Naylor's.
Exactly. Well, it's weird because to go back to Doogie's reporting, the Vikings were concerned. The Vikings basically internally thought that Jalen was going to miss like 4 weeks of the season. And then Jalen went and found an independent doctor in California who's like, oh, dude, I'll do this procedure and you'll be good to go by opening night, which he was, which probably means they don't make that trade if they had the independent doctor first. Here's some food for thought, though, to go back to the Colts talker. If the Colts do fall apart and, let's say Shane Steichen gets fired, I mean, somebody will probably pay for that. Daniel Jones is on a 1-year contract, gentlemen. Daniel Jones on a 1-year contract.
He is. I think if he were to bounce back and keep playing at the level where, I mean, he was like leading the league in passing yards
100%.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
They could franchise him and control the contractual interaction. But if it's like a Darnold situation where, and Darnold played at a maybe even higher level throughout last year until the wheels totally came off, which brought his value from franchise tag level to like $35 million. That's the gamble is, okay, if Daniel Jones's market is like $30 or $35 million, franchising him, you might just get stuck on like a $50 million number if you're the Colts. But then again, if he continues to tank in the second half of the year, do you really want to go down that path?
That's what I was going to ask.
Paying a Sam Darnold contract? I don't know, man.
That's the question. And if Shane Steichen gets blown out, a new coach, or if the GM gets blown out, a new administration could come in and say, okay, that was fine, but we're going to draft a quarterback or something else. So there's a lot of tentacles here, and it's a good question. But I will say this: Daniel Jones knows the Viking system. He knows O'Connell, and he is the type of quarterback who has enough experience that O'Connell would think, okay, if I get this guy, we can go back to my quarterback whisperer days instead of the quarterback nonsense days that we're currently in.
Super interesting. So Adam Thielen, all right, peace out. Can we do tiers right now, or tiers ready right now?
I can pull them up. Yep.
Okay. Declan, every couple weeks or so on the show, takes all 32 teams in the NFL and categorizes them in various tiers. That's TIERS, not TEARS, which is that's where the Vikings are at right now. But we'll get to Dex's tiers here. By the way, Dan Orlovsky going off on Justin Jefferson. Like, he's lighting on Get Up this morning, I just saw a clip, lighting the fire on the Justin Jefferson might ask out discussion. Oh my God, this is going to get so spicy the next
So he's not going after Jefferson. He is insinuating now that Justin might say, I'm done here.
He's saying the likeliest way they can keep Jefferson or make him happy, keep him or make him happy, is Daniel Jones or Mac Jones. And while I agree that those guys would be drastic upgrades over the worst quarterback play in the NFL, which the Vikings have been getting this year, do those guys bring you into Super Bowl contention?
But to go back to what we've talked about, I don't think they would say yes because they will make them contenders. And if you just make the tournament, you've got a chance. That's what they will tell you.
The tournament.
The tournament.
All right. Let's pop some tears.
All right, here's Dex's tiers, Week 13 in the NFL. I'll flash these two things on the screen for the IO audience. I'll explain. I have my ideal Super Bowl matchup, which even though they're coming off a loss to the Panthers, I have the Rams and Patriots. I think that'd be a fun Super Bowl. It's kind of a transitioning of the guard. You have Matthew Stafford for maybe one last ride, who having a hell of a year. He had a rough game on Sunday against the Panthers, but then against Drake May and the upcoming Patriots. So that is my ideal Super Bowl matchup. But below this is the could they go dancing tier. Could they go on a little run? That is the Seahawks, the Bills, the Niners, the Carolina Panthers,
Wow.
the Texans, the Broncos, the Chargers. Herbert claiming even though he's having like a procedure on his fractured non-throwing hand that he's going to be just okay. We'll see how that goes. But could they go dancing? Because I agree with Chris Collinsworth. I don't know if you guys caught the end of Sunday Night Football last night when he said, I mean, this is like as in terms of parity, in terms of even like trying to figure out who is the best team in the NFL each week, you have no idea. So that's why I had the Rams and Patriots as my ideal Super Bowl matchup. And then these kind of next tiered teams of could they go on a little dance? Could they go on a little run?
I need to know the definition of dancing because to me, the dancing that the Seahawks could do is potentially Super Bowl, like NFC Championship Super Bowl Seahawks. The level of dancing the Panthers could do is maybe they sneak that division. And I still think the Bills. I know the Bills have kind of stumbled over themselves a couple times in the last month and a half, but the Bills could also just be waiting to peak until the right time. So they could. They're super.
Yeah, they got a quarterback that
Panthers
can
are
dance.
a different. Panthers are a different conversation.
Josh Allen
than
can
the-
dance. He's got moves. He's got moves. I feel like the Panthers would probably go discoing, so they'd be immediately out of style. I have no faith that Bryce Young. I mean, Bryce Young was, unfortunately, for the quarterback accessible challenge purposes, for me, he was good yesterday. I also think the Texans are wonky. I would say Seattle, Buffalo, San Francisco, I can't dismiss because of their culture and Kyle Shanahan.
Totally.
Denver's intriguing. I'm a little bit surprised you gave the Chargers the nod because you don't like Herbert, but I think I would remove the Texans and Panthers from the dancing.
But see, the Texans have had one of the best scoring defenses in the league. I mean, and if you want to go point differential, so Texans are 7-5, and the Panthers are, I think, are they 7-6? Finally get in their bye. So they're both like pretty much same record. But there's a 115-point difference in their point differentials. The Texans have shown throughout the season, hey, our record's been crappy, but we actually there's an underbelly here of a great defense, and we're actually process-wise better than our record. Panthers are sneaking out some fun games, but process-wise, they'd be very fortunate to get to the playoffs. But it's fun. They hit the over already. It was a 6.5 over/under for the Panthers, and I think they just it's 7 wins. They just cashed it right now.
It was the road game. It was a road game, but I mean they just knocked off Super Bowl favorites in the Rams.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
You know?
Yeah.
100%. I agree. I just can't put them in the.
Yeah.
It wasn't the road game, by the way. They played at home against the Rams. They beat the Rams at home, which is great. Awesome. Congratulations, Panthers. Keep dancing.
Tough weather.
Yeah.
Next tier, the overrated or just good. Are they overrated or are they just good? And that's the Bears, the Packers, the Lions, the Jags, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Colts. All teams that could be maybe in the mix for a late January run. Maybe they're playing a little bit above their projections. Maybe they're even tailing off like the Colts. Obviously, the Chiefs, this is probably as suspect as I can remember a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs team looking, but it's still Patrick Mahomes, so that stock still goes up a little bit. Cowboys have finally figured things out, winning a bunch of games with a kick-ass offense. So I have them in the overrated or just good tier, and then underneath them, the Eagles and Bucks. Teams that will likely be in the playoffs, I think, especially like the Eagles, yes, and the Bucks, I think, are in the playoffs, but there's some flaws there. They seem a little bit flawed. Maybe one and done. So I have these two teams in the overrated or just good tier and the seam flawed tier.
The Chiefs, if they lose again this weekend, have like a 13% chance to make the playoffs. So they are definitely fighting for their playoff lives. But I still think, and it's the Texans. They play the Texans, and the loser of that game is going to have a hard time making the playoffs. I still think if the Chiefs get in, they have a chance to win the whole thing. Because I think this profiles as a better Chiefs team than last year, even though that team was much better wins and losses wise. But they just have this gauntlet schedule where they've had rest disadvantages. They've played a bunch of really good teams on the road. But they've got to get to like 10 wins and pray is kind of the deal right now for the Chiefs.
The Packers' peaks and valleys, partially based on Jordan Love, are so high too. Like that Detroit game on Thanksgiving,
That was awesome.
I was really impressed.
Wow.
I'm like, that team looks great, but you've lost these weird games too where Jordan Love doesn't look good. So yeah, I have a hard time because Green Bay at their best, I think can easily make a playoff run. My question is, can you put together 2 or 3 games like that in the playoffs when it's really, really difficult?
Dallas, Detroit this weekend is going to be awesome. And Dallas has already plowed. Dallas is probably the hottest team in the league, just considering Eagles, Chiefs. If they get through the Lions, then they get that home game against the Vikings, who have a hard time scoring a touchdown the last month. And they also get Commanders and Giants on their schedule. So with the Eagles losing to the Bears, that division is back in play for the Cowboys, especially if they can beat the Lions.
With a tie. Dallas and Green Bay with that tie. I can't do the math anymore. I have no idea where those teams are until I actually see it officially updated.
Also, keep an eye on the Buccaneers. Buccaneers have gone through the hardest part of their schedule. They now have one of the easiest remaining schedules in the league the rest of the way. Baker dealing with a banged up shoulder. Yeah. But it's very possible the Buccaneers could get hot and maybe rattle off a few wins to end their season.
I want the Bucs to make the playoffs way more than the Panthers.
Bucs would be a legit
bore me. Sorry.
The Panthers are like a fun, cute team that could sneak in at 9-8 if they, if it works out. The Buccaneers, if they get in with Baker Mayfield, and they've actually won playoff games, right? Like the Buccaneers have a real shot if they can get in to do some damage.
Mm-hmm.
A solo team, Joe Burrow's repaired toe. Mm-hmm. Joe Burrow's repaired toe has a big win on Thursday night coming back from the injury, so he gets his own tier because they might end up winning the AFC North with only like 8 or 9 games, whatever it is. So they might win the North, so they get their own tier. And then I had the biggest losers tier, which are the Falcons and the Vikings, and the Steelers, Commanders, and Ravens. All different types of biggest losers here. For Atlanta, obviously the Penix thing, he's injured again. They don't have a first-round pick. They're heading towards a massive, obviously, reset. The Vikings, for obvious reasons that you can just listen to any episode of Purple Daily in the last 48 hours, if not the last couple weeks, to explain that. The Steelers, Mike Tomlin, fans are already really pissed. Aaron Rodgers is classically, throwing acid into the entire organization. The Commanders are coming off what was an awesome run of the title game, but Jaden Daniels has been hurt, so it just kind of like feels a little deflating. And then the Ravens. I know they also dealt with an injury with Lamar, but a team that usually is always very consistently good, and I put them in the losers tier. They might end up being the only team out of this list, obviously, that makes the playoffs, but I have them in a loser tier right now.
I would actually put the Ravens in whatever tier would include them potentially winning the Super Bowl. That was their first loss on a weird Thursday night. Joe Burrow's coming back. It's not an ideal loss, but that was their first loss since October 12th after rattling off 5 straight wins, not against the best competition. I'm not saying they're clicking on all cylinders, but
weird season.
I still think that's like between the Ravens and the Chiefs. They're having these weird struggles to get to the playoffs, but if they get in, look out. It might be one of those seasons that you just needed the opposite to happen, where you snuck in and got hot in a different way. So I'm not losing hope in the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. My personal opinion.
I am very conflicted about this because I think there's been differing reports. But if indeed the Falcons called the Vikings first and offered them the trade that the Rams took, that is when your bad luck began for 2025.
Like in the draft?
Yes, the draft.
Yeah.
If the Falcons, so before the Vikings took Donovan Jackson, if, as Thor calls him, terrible Terry Fontenot, called the Vikings and said, we want to move up, we will give you our 2026 first round pick. And the Vikings said, because can you imagine if you had the season that the Vikings are having and you were sitting on the Falcons first round pick as well?
Yeah.
The potential bonanza
Oh,
and the potential trades.
yeah, because that's right. So right now, yeah, Tankathon, it's a top 10 pick. So it's possible the Rams could win the Super Bowl
And get a top 10 pick.
and get a top 5 or top 10 pick.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
What a world. What a world. 2 more tiers here. The not good, but maybe not bad tier. The Jets have won 3 of their last 5.
Yeah.
Isn't that something, huh? The Jets have finally won some games here.
Got some juice.
The Dolphins look like they're going to fire Mike McDaniel. They actually move on from their GM. Dolphins look capable again. They look like they've kind of maybe not saved their season because I don't think they have a lot to play for, but they've rattled off some wins. And then in the just awful tier, the Raiders, the Browns, the Saints, the Titans, the Cardinals, the Giants. You could put the Giants are actually, like, for 2026 look pretty promising. Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboo, if he comes back, like Neighbors. There's some intriguing pieces there. They might be on a faster track than the other teams in the just awful tier. But I mean, they are awful this year. So I have them in the just awful tier.
Yeah, these are some bad football teams. Some bad football
What's it going to
teams.
take for the Vikings to end up in that tier, Declan?
Well, I mean, yeah, they're close. I almost put them in there. I almost put them
Giants
in there.
beat them.
mean,
Giants could beat
Well,
them.
dude, if they get beat by the Commanders this weekend,
Just awful.
there's really,
Yeah.
like I know that we're maybe grasping at what we thought was going to happen or whatnot, but
Sure.
they are currently record-wise one of the 11 worst teams in the NFL.
Yep.
And there's at least 2 or 3 guaranteed loss at this rate. If the Lions and or the Packers have things to play for at the end of the season, they're not beating those teams, right? So that gets you to 10 losses.
Mm-hmm.
This version of the Cowboys, are you beating that version of the Cowboys offense? And that defense has been a lot better with these quarterbacks and this offense. That's
I hope
11
not.
losses. That gets you to 6-11.
Excellent. Okay, keep going.
Can you, the Commander, if at this point, not if, like you should be hoping for the Vikings to lose the rest of their games, right?
Correct.
Like what's the,
So, yeah.
and maybe like somehow McCarthy looks pretty good while you do that, and you feel, I don't know, maybe you feel a sense of hope. I'd be shocked if that happens, but yeah, you could get to like the 5th overall pick if you do your job and lose. You got to lose to the Commanders and the Giants though, because those are teams you're chasing.
Giants are on the road. I could see you. I could see that going sideways pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, Dex's tiers right there. Here on NFL Takes, Purple Daily NFL Takes edition. We have, don't forget, Thor Talks Purple debuting today. You can find that on the Purple Daily feeds, but also the Thor Talks Purple brand new RSS feeds for the audio listeners on Apple and Spotify and the Score North YouTube channel. And we'll be back on Purple Daily with a State of the Vikings episode tomorrow. All right. It's been fun doing these NFL takes with you guys.